Good afternoon, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Welcome into a glitch in the Matrix today. We are going to have a wonderful show for you guys today. I do have Barry Littleton here in the studio with me. And we're not only going to be talking about some hot topics and events that are happening right now in our solar system, but Barry actually gave me a remote viewing target, a blind coordinate remote viewing target. And we're going to talk about that one today, because it actually has a lot to do with what's going on right now. And you're going to see why as soon as we get to that. Actually, I would have saved this for tomorrow night for a remote viewing show, but I do have Greg Ogles coming on with me tomorrow night. We're going to be talking about people who have disappeared out of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. We're going to go over some remote viewing targets of some missing people and stuff like that. So, and it all has to do with his new documentary called The Vanished. And we're going to get into that tomorrow night. Okay, so today we are talking about 3i Atlas, Project Bluebeam, the Amoco alien, and Bill Cooper's predictions in the past. This is going to be a wild one, y'all. I can't wait. And so, yeah, let's get to it, y'all. Let me put that up. Okay, all of my settings were all messed up when I got into StreamYard today. So it put me behind by a couple minutes, but it's all good, y'all. And thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you to all my moderators for being here today. And if you guys would like to check out my website and everything, please go over to the cryptidhuntress.com, where you can find all my social media links and my Patreon link, where I will be putting this data for this target that we're going to go over today in my Patreon. I'll put it in there this afternoon after the show. And of course, whatever targets I have for tomorrow will be in my Patreon as well. All my targets, all the data for all my targets are all in my Patreon. If you guys are ever interested in becoming a member, I would love to have you. And thank you to all of my members over there. And also, I do have a shop called War Woman Goods. I have so much jewelry that I need to post in there. I'm going to be posting it in the next couple of days. Some new stuff, some new vintage stuff, actually. Wonderful items. So if you guys need to do some Christmas shopping, please check out my website. I will be posting a whole bunch of new stuff here in the next day or two. Okay. And thank you guys so much for all your support. Okay. Well, let's get into our show today. On November the 21st of 1989, Amoco, THORNELL Advanced Aerospace Composites Incorporated, placed a full-page advertisement in Aviation Week and Space Technology magazine, and it was headlined, "Technology so advanced, it will help you answer some big questions." The advertisement was placed on page 51, which some believe connected directly to the beginning of an Area 51 disinformation campaign. Across the advertisement page was a full-page color photo of an alien. It was shown with its head, its shoulders, its torso, and a four-fingered raised hand in a gesture of friendship, they say. They're nice aliens. All aliens are good, right? Spokespersons for Amoco claimed it was a photo of a 10-inch model. Around the same time this ad was published, let's see, it appears to have been the beginning of an intentional disinformation campaign launched by the DoD and Aerospace Industry. Of course, today we have Barry Littleton here to discuss the Amoco alien, its implications of alien disclosure, and we have an update, of course, on 3i Atlas. And of course, right before the show, I got I'm going to say bombarded in a good way, by a whole bunch of people contacting me. And thank you to Cryptidville. I'm not sure, I hadn't checked the chat yet, but Cryptidville, if you're in here, thank you so much for sending me that information on 3i Atlas. And yes, NASA has activated a planetary defense network. Okay, we're going to talk about that in regard as it pertains to 3i Atlas today. You guys, please help me welcome to the show one of the best researchers out there and my go-to person when it comes to all things interstellar, outer space, and inner space as well. My good friend, Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Greetings. What's happening, Jessica? Greetings to your audience, too. Interesting.
Greetings, Earthlings.
Yeah, it's interesting times, and this is going to be, I think, in particularly something interesting just to look at, because I'm getting to the point to where it's worthy to see things that happened before the age of CGI and the age of AI and all that. I mean, it's really starting to just ruin things, trying to decipher what is real and what is fake on social media. So when you start going back before those eras, like into the 80s, into the 70s, the 60s, it gets really interesting to see what information is valid versus what we know now and what is supposedly being conveyed to us at this time,
Supposedly, allegedly. And man, you know what I love about this is that you gave me a set of coordinates just yesterday. You probably gave them to me a couple of days ago, but I got to them yesterday. And after you told me what the target was later in the evening, after I had sent you all the data and stuff, and you had mentioned William Cooper or Bill Cooper, right? Yeah, as it pertains to this target. Now, he was a pretty well-spoken whistleblower. Okay. And they call him a conspiracy theorist. Okay. And so I think that it's really interesting to get into his backstory today and a little bit of what he was talking about when it came to this Amoco alien. And I started doing a little deep dive myself this morning on Bill Cooper. And man, that was pretty dynamic. And his death is such a weird thing as well. Man.
Yeah. I had an encounter in 2016. I was on this panel with the late Jim Mars, who honestly I was not really impressed with. Well, we didn't really. I mean, it was just odd exchange. You know what I mean? Towards the end, anyway. But I had asked him why during after his lecture, he's taking questions. And I asked him about Bill Cooper. And first he looked at me, how dare me ask him the question about this dude. Then he just tried to just completely discredit him. Oh, he lost his mind a long time ago, yada, yada. So, it's things like that we encounter in these circles that get somewhat throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And, concerning this, I've mentioned before that I came from the air capital of the world, is what it's called. And so my father had a contracting that he did with places like Boeing and Spirit and Beechcraft, it was called back then, Learjet, all those places. So I had got exposed to a lot of these magazines that would be on the tables at his office place all the time. And one of them was that magazine. And, and I had seen it, and it kind of seemed odd because it didn't have, that picture had nothing to do with oil. Okay. And for me, Amoco was a gas station we had down the street. It was still doing self-service long after everybody else had stopped.
Double A MCO.
Not self-service, right. Full service. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Anyway, it was, yeah. So that's how I always knew Amoco. But that was a deal for them in aviation. And, and I thought it was just odd, but as things just go on. It was 1988. I was still in high school. Okay, that was a November 21st, 1988 edition of Aviation Weekly. And then later it comes up in like the Omni magazine. They were questioning it and that picture. And then later I found out about Bill Cooper. He wrote that book. The first time I got turned on to him was the Behold the Pale Horse. I sent you a picture of that. That's a good book that some things are still surfacing right now that I think outlines a lot of what we're dealing with right now is terms of not conspiracy, but I think private programs that are being exposed and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. Anyway, so what he had said about that picture is that one, that he had claimed that it was real, and that he started taking, like, when you really zoom in on it, like there's hair on the neck, really fine hair on the neck of that original picture.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
Let's
also
zoom in.
yeah, and there's one of them I gave you was Enlightened, but that's like the original one that had come out. And when you get even closer, like he was, I mean, he was really blowing it up. That's the one that was lightened up. And, I find it really interesting because he had brought something up, and it's something I had noticed too, all right, is that when you look at this being here, one, it doesn't look like the typical grays as we know them. And I gave you a chart of like all these different grays I've seen that have been reported by contactees. But this one here, the eyes appear to be bovine, as in cow. Those look like cow eyes. And when you start
Oh my
really
gosh.
looking into the mutilations, okay, and that's why I know people always dog out Little Boat Hal, but I like meeting her in person, but I always liked her, research. She's just a journalist, but she came to my state and in a couple of counties away to investigate cow mutilations in 1987. So that's how I first found out about her. It's going way back. Anyway, when you start looking at that and these cattle mutilations, and I want to bring this up, Jessica, and I apologize to you and the audience. I did not get this. I should have got this woman's name, and I just couldn't find it before we started the show. But there was a lady back in the early 70s that did a regression with Dr. Leo Sprinkle. And he was a regressionist also. And he did a regression with this lady who said she saw this cow being sucked up into this UFO. And they lost another cow, I believe, too. But then during this regression, she at one point had been on board this thing and saw these type of grays that had this cow in this suspended animation type of a tank. And they were doing horrible things to it. Things that would be similar to what we call now acoustic scalpels, which coincidentally is something similar that you saw in your data when you were looking at how the moai were actually constructed. You were seeing something similar to acoustic scalpels that were coming out of basically vortexes.
Yeah, those mushroom robots.
Yeah, by very small beings that were doing that. Wow. Actually construction of them anyway. So anyway, bringing that back to this regression with Leo Sprinkle, okay? And the fact that, okay, when you start actually looking at the genetic connections between bovine and humans, especially the eyes, a lot of genetic similarities. Anyone can look that up. It's not just me talking. Okay, that there is a picture that I got a long time ago. I can't remember exactly where it came from, one of those manuals, but that's supposed to be a reticuli zeta from, like, what is it on the bottom there? I can't see it. It
says
type C.
Z reticuli.
Yeah. And I just brought that because it has also the human eyes. The cow eyes, more cow eyes.
Wow.
And again, look up the genetic connections between bovine eyes and human eyes. And we start getting into these cloning facilities that we've talked about and everyone's talked about that go way, way back, is what you're seeing. There's some type of a creature that's actually some type of an experiment, one of these creatures. You know what I'm saying?
Like a hybrid, some sort of a chimera or a hybrid?
Yeah, involving the cow. And it's never been explicitly explained what they've been doing with the cow genetics. Is this something with it, these hybrid race that they're making? And you've got all types of grays. I sent you that picture that is just those types of grays I'm aware of. And I was just wanting to see how many of them had human eyes versus cow eyes versus those shields. And the reason why I put those other pictures of what are the other targets I had given you, which is the alien autopsy video. That was an interesting one. But what was interesting why I put that up is because at one point, that thing appeared to have the typical gray, black eyes, and they removed it, seeing there were lens, and underneath was more of a organic type of eye. It didn't look like a cow eye to me. It was white, but still, it's interesting showing that those were more like lenses than actual optic. Anyway, sorry. Sorry, I get too excited. But you know where I'm at with this. I think you do. See it.
I'm trying to pull up. I'm pulling up the picture right now of the alien autopsy eyes.
Yeah, that's after and that's after they removed those little lens, and you saw them actually remove them. And it looks like almost the thing is like a person holding its eyes upwards.
It does. Yeah.
Like the actors do sometimes. Anyway,
that's
but
right.
yeah, but that doesn't look like the being we have in that picture. It looks different. And so I gave you that target. I wanted to see if you got one. Was it true the hoax? Because a big deal went down because when people started writing to Amoco or Aviation Weekly and they started asking about the statue, and they stopped responding. They wouldn't give any pictures of it. They wouldn't show anything about it. Still to this day, I couldn't find anything on it. Could you? The actual statue that's supposed to be?
No, I couldn't. No, there's no nothing. anywhere. I couldn't find it. I started to have a hard time finding this picture, but then I dug some more and I found it. But I found an article. Someone had written that if this was a fake alien, and this was fake, then why did, let's see, it was a magazine that is basically non-existent to find this issue for some reason. It's as if the government went around and took it out of every person's house and library or librarian's house, and now it's impossible to find. There's like no hard copies of this anywhere.
You know, if you type in YouTube, type in Aviation Weekly, Amoco alien, and this guy will come up. You might have to search a little, but this guy is a little kind of strange, little weird euphemism he uses there, but he's got a copy of it. He's got a hard copy. He's the one
that that's who I quoted this from, was that guy in that video. Just look up what you do. I typed in the Amoco alien and Bill Cooper, and that came up. Actually, that video came up. Actually, I was looking that up, and then he had a link to Bill Cooper talking about this, and then that YouTube channel has been wiped off the face of YouTube. So it wasn't there. But anyways, it does take some digging to find all this information. It's not just like it doesn't just pop up at the top of Google. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You know, I've seen all sorts of speculations now. Oh, this picture is from that. It's from this. It's from that. And a lot of that stuff is unproven. Like, let's say, for example, the Russian race book. That's not proven to really be from 1947, like they're saying. That is very weak evidence, and that is something that any of us that's really into this or science fiction could have written. That alien racist book. I just don't. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's real cool, but I can't put all my props in that any more than I can the Blue Book or any of these other things. You know what I mean? But, and especially when I look for the species that I've interacted with aren't in there. So I'm still makes me very curious. Why not? When it's really all knowing of all these races they know about, but they're not talking about them all. A lot of us contactees have met beings and from different civilizations or whatever. There's no record of them in modern ufology at all, especially the ones that claim to come from other galaxies. We don't even hear about that. We're still stuck on the local deal, the cluster, the Pleiades, Arcturus, you know. Andromeda's about as extragalactic as you get these days. And that's very vague when people say, hey, I interacted with the Andromedans. Andromedans from where? That's like saying, hey, I'm a Milky Wayan. What does that mean?
You live on the Milky Way.
Where in the Milky Way? You know, I mean, that is
a Milky Wayan. Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Not a good candy way. They never liked that candy bar. Milky Way, thumbs down. Didn't like Three Musketeers either. Thought those are kind of crummy.
They're good occasionally. I'll eat them. Hey, it is Halloween is coming up, and I will be raiding my son's Halloween bucket at some point. Okay, I'll let you know if they're still bad. How about that? Okay, so let's talk about Bill Cooper a little bit. Okay, let's see the sort Voctor. Okay, it says you put the aliens in the middle of this stuff. You've got all the answers.
Hold on. Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Huh? Okay. Sorry, y'all. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and go over some of this Bill Cooper information here. Let me take this down. I'll just leave it up for a minute. Y'all can enjoy our alien here. Okay, so Cooper says, okay, and Behold a Pale Horse on page 234. And I have not read this book. Actually, let me pull up the book.
Yeah. Sorry about
wait, that's not it. Hold on, wrong one. We're gonna come to that in a minute, y'all. I think this is the book, right, Barry? Is that the book cover?
Yeah. That's a pale. Behold a Pale Horse.
Behold a Pale Horse. Yeah. Okay, so on page 234, Cooper says there is always the possibility that he was used. The alien threat scenario is a huge hoax. This is what he said: is a huge hoax to expedite the world into a one world government. There was also an article in the Village Voice. Now, we just talked about the Village Voice last Thursday when I was going over the remote viewing data for the missing Susan Walsh. She worked for the Village Voice as well. So the Village Voice has come up twice this week saying the same thing. But he wrote that he read, there was somebody who wrote for the Village Voice that said that he read Cooper's book, and Cooper had believed the aliens were real and they're mutilating humans and animals and have a pact with the government. But Cooper said he never said that humans were being mutilated, is what he said. But he said that if aliens are real, they're probably not hurting humans, is what he said. He said the aliens may be used by the government to fool us as scapegoats for a bigger agenda. And he believes that the aliens are us, as in humans. He thinks that if we see anything that's like an alien, it's probably us, probably in the future, right? And but he said he thinks it's us, or maybe it's just a big psyop. You know what I mean? And he said that at one point there was $1 million offered to anyone who could show proof of alien life on Earth, and nobody came forward to get that payment. Now, Bill Cooper was eventually found. He wasn't found dead. His police had gone to his house for some reason and ended up shooting him, and he died back in 2001, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know all the circumstances behind his death, but it was, I don't know. He was definitely exposing a potential fake alien invasion coming, y'all. Heard it was already here, and that was back many years ago. And here we are today, Barry. We got 3-Eye Atlas about to buzz right past Earth. It's getting close to the sun. They gave us a date of December. Let's see. I've got a lot of notes for today. I mean, I've had so many people send me stuff just today, even my mom, friends of mine. On December 17th, it will be closest to the Earth. Yeah. What do you think about all this?
Well. I mean, we could get into that whatever you want, but I mean, are we done with this picture though? Because there's well, it's something interesting that you had put up and you had sent me or something.
Okay.
And it was a name attached with Amoco, and it was about was it not metamaterials? Composites, different composites.
Mm-hmm.
You remember? You sent that?
Yes. The advanced, do you want me to read it? The THORNELL Advanced Aerospace Composites Incorporated.
Okay. The reason why I just want to bring up composites and why that stands out to me, all right? Now this is y'all got to go down a rabbit hole with me because I'm strange, but I'm always looking things that correlates with my experiences, all right? Now there is a composite company that is called Hexcel, HGXCEL, and I sent you some pictures of them.
Oh, yeah, let me try to pull
and they make different composites, but one of their composites is called a honeycomb composite, which especially got my attention because one, it's a lightning resistant composite that's used for the inside of airplanes. But when looking at that configuration, the hexagon like that, the honeybee conjecture. Why do honeybees use that structure for their honey? Okay, there's an engine that I've shown. I just sent you a picture of that too. That's just, I call it the gyroscopic engine, but it's got something in the center of it, and it looks similar to like a big piece of carbon 60. I don't think it is, but it just looks quite similar. But in the middle of it is this energy generating thing that has this hexagon configuration like that, and almost looks similar to that in color. So when I saw that composite, it really caught my attention, as did the Hexcel Corporation. Okay.
That's I'm trying to get it up.
Oh, it's all right. Oh, it's all right. I wasn't tripping on that. I was just trying to explain it why I could get it out without screwing it up or getting overexcited and not even explaining it well. So
here it is.
Yeah, there you go. It's kind of hard to see it here, but it's that middle ball there that looks similar to the C60. It had hexagons, and it was generating a very deep golden light. All right. And it was obviously the beginning of the power source for this thing, which is some type of a pure life energy orgone polarized light to a degree. But the thing in this, and remember, this thing was huge. All right. But that got me really interested in what's called the honeybee conjecture, which is, again, like I said, why did they use that form to store their energy? But in reality, Jessica, you and I have talked before about when you bring materials literally from one universe to another, or from one dimension to another, truly, not just densities, but in other dimensions, other universes, you can do it through shapes. and you've got these shapes. That's one of the shapes that can be used. See what I'm saying?
Oh,
Life energy exists not just in this level, it's on other levels too, but it's in different frequencies, different octaves, different vibrations, all these things. That, but never mind that. Don't go in the light. Don't mess with the light. It's a trick. Anyway, sorry, that was a joke, bad joke. Anyway, I did be heckled a little bit anyway myself. But point being that, so I think it's just valid to look up that when you put that composites in there, I'm like, man, that starts tying stuff in there to me. I just see, little clues, little lily pads to jump from one to the other, whatever you want to call it. But it's interesting, for speculation, if nothing else. So,
Hey, I think it's really interesting. It is. Well, why don't we do this? Do you want to get into the remote viewing data for this? Because of course we have a shorter show today because it's my afternoon show. So let's get into the data. We'll knock this out and then we'll talk more about it. Because there's a lot of data actually for this little alien. What exactly was the target, Barry? Tell the audience.
It was the thing itself. The thing itself. I want to know, was it real or not? Did you get this was a statue? Did you get it was, and people were trying to explain it. Well, it was CGI they were using for that hair. I'm no expert on that stuff, all right? But look, in 1988, the CGI and the AI stuff is not where it is now. Not even close. You had to really be expensive movie stuff to even see something like that, and it wasn't like that. Like what's being explained, what's being expressed here. I think that's really worthy, to take into account. When people just say, "Oh, it's just CGI," that's an easy excuse now. But back then, it wasn't quite as easy and convenient. The 80s, Jessica, the 80s wanted to be just like what it is right now, technologically. They were trying to illustrate that, but they weren't there. We're there now.
Yeah. I like the CGI or the special effects from the 1980s. There was special time. They were cutting edge back then.
Yeah, they were, I thought.
Yeah.
It's even better when you get a movie that they do a little bit of that with the CGI stuff or the AI now that makes it look really much more realistic. If they could have done with Christopher Reeve what they could do with those new Supermen now, that would have been a whole different movie there. He was more like flying around like ballet kind of style, not like a jet like he should have been. Just food for thought. Anyway, sorry. Back to this this data, please. I get talking about stuff.
Well, okay. So the question is was this a 10-inch statue that was made out of plastic or something or clay, or was this a real alien? That's the question. Okay, that's the question. I have 3 pages of data here.
One thing, they changed when they were asked. They changed the size of the model like 2 or 3 times. They're responding to these people before they just quit talking. Yeah, at first it was like a 10-inch model, then it was 12, and it got like bigger than that. They were saying like it was, like a couple feet or something. It got really odd, and then they stopped responding altogether. So anyway, sorry, please keep going.
Oh, so it's a mystery, and the fact that people cannot really find these magazines anywhere. Today. They're having a hard time locating some. That one guy on YouTube did have a copy of it, and I did watch his video, and he seemed to be pretty stoked about it too. But okay, so let's get into this. I'll pull this picture up again so you guys can take a look. Let's pull up the up close picture of this. Okay, this is the Amoco alien. Some of my sensory data includes listening, wavy. Look, it's waving. I said wavy. Mushy, thick, menace, oblong, closing, writing, watching, and submission. Submission was the last thing I wrote for that. My analytic overlay is mission, listen, rover, wax, which is interesting, right? Wax, train and training, closing in on us, better place to go, journey, peace, PEACE, study, fever pitch, hot topic, trending, vocal, submit, vanity, and Vancouver. Okay, that's my my 2 first stages of the data, and then I just drew something that was kind of like, I don't know, I just drew a weird little oblong drawing there. Okay, so all right, what do you think so far, Barry? What do you think? Is it kind of on target so far?
I would say absolutely, the circumstances wise, definitely.
Hmm.
And I must say, at this point, with the exception of the word wax, it
Human?
doesn't sound like it's an inanimate
No,
object, does it?
that's right. No, it doesn't. It seems other than the
And
wax. Okay, the wax is suspicious. Makes it
you know,
suspicious a little bit.
there's one other thing. Look, I can only speak for myself. When I look at that picture, and even the one that they quote unquote have enhanced and enlightened, and I get a feeling of sadness. And that being looks like
Yeah.
it's sad. It does not look like a happy picture. It does not have a happy vibe to it, you know? And
E.T.
that they're
phone
like
home. Yeah.
and that's enhanced, and it almost looks like they may have tried to make it look a little more pleasant. I don't know, but I mean the eyes is still the dead giveaway why I like that illustration. But
Well, they said
that
that it was
picture,
holding up a gesture of peace with its hand.
well,
It's like
you had another word in there. You had
Mhm.
submission, didn't you?
Submission. That's right. I sure did. That was my sensory data. Submission. Yep. Yeah, it is kind of sad. Okay, and now I mean, is this a wax model? I don't know. Is it a 10-inch model? I don't know. It does look as though it does have hair on it and stuff. If you zoom in, it looks like it's got like human-like skin.
You know, when when Cooper was blowing that up, it was on a huge projector. And I mean, he had the thing just like, because people were going up looking at it actually on, one of those 80s projectors. But nonetheless, I was telling the other day, I said microfiche. These people are looking at me. They're in their 40s too. They were what? I said, God, you don't even know what microfiche was? Anyway, anyway, point being that they were really zoomed up on it. You could see it. It looked very fine, and he was comparing it to almost fine baby hair.
Fine
And
baby hair.
that's pretty extensive for just a model, you know. And
Yeah.
if I had a model that, I took that much time, any artist I know that took that much time on it, they would want props for it. At least let people know that it was their work. I mean, no one's claiming that. No one's showing the statue. Nothing. That gets really ominous at that point.
It does. It does. Strange Day says, looks like the creature depicted on the famous crop circle. Kind of does. There's a crop circle with an alien depicted in it for sure.
Eye
Super
structure is
interesting.
different though.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes, the nose is different. Oh man. Okay.
You have
Well,
that picture of all those different grays that I showed you?
I do.
It might not be blown up, but it's just interesting when oh, you did show it. I'm sorry. There's, what was it? Number 23. Number 23 caught my attention. Number 22. And that's really about it. Number 31 is similar to 23, but it's like the lenses were removed, but not quite. But I just found that interesting. And this chart I got, it was from contactees, what they've reported seeing.
Oh man,
And I
some
know
of those
you've
look
got,
very human.
mm-hmm.
They
I've
look
got those
human.
several different types of gray too. I'm not an
Yeah.
expert on the grays, and I'm not experienced them, but I still think it's really interesting. You got the Zetas, you got all these different ones, and you've got the ones from Tau Ceti. Was it F, the one that's further back? I think Tau Ceti E is close to you remote viewed, but the planet in the back that's in the habitable zone also, but it's further away. It's supposed to have some type of a gray species on that too. So I think that's interesting.
Magical Journey Podcast, hello, says wax was what some people were saying this was made of. I mean, what are the odds of that coming up in my data? You know what I mean? But let's continue. Okay, let's go to stage 4 of my data. Okay, so the first thing I wrote down was mirror back this reality. Like I heard a voice. This was like a quote. Mirror back this reality. And I wrote parallel reality. Dumbfounded. And that's not me. That's like the sensory data. So like whatever this is dumbfounded. That's what I wrote down. And I started feeling I got a heartache, chest pain, tight chest. My chest started hurting during this. And then as I'm getting this chest pain, I'm seeing a wormhole. And I wrote wormhole, and this is what I was seeing right here. It was like I guess you got, I mean, that it was just like a hole with like a tube. And I wrote wormhole with a question mark. And I wrote black hole. And then I wrote seismic and then earthquake. Seismic earthquake. By the way, that has something to do with 3i Atlas right now too. Okay, I think. But then I wrote fault line. And then I wrote no fault of mine. Fault line and no fault of mine is what I wrote. What do you think about that, Barry?
I mean, I think more, what do you think about that? What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think, okay, I know I wrote down wax. That's a one word that really stands out on that first page because I'm like, but it doesn't seem, it seems like I'm remote viewing something that is real. Okay, like living. There's something going on here. Okay, I don't think that this is a, I mean, it feels like there's something coming from another dimension. I'm just saying, another dimension. I'm not even going to say space. I think like another dimension or something.
It's just interesting because everything surrounding the data and everything surrounding wax doesn't support that, does it?
It doesn't. Wax is in there, but nothing else supports it.
But that almost shows that you're just picking up on perhaps the deception, part of the deception, because nothing else conforms with that before or after. Very interesting. You know, and the fact you bring up wormhole there, and that again takes us into Makos, takes us in controlled wormholes, okay, controlled Earth portals. We've been all through that. All this starts tying together, you know? And I ask again, so would you say that this seems like a natural being, or does it seem something that might be more like an experiment or an abomination, in your opinion, from the data?
Well, with the wormhole data and the black hole and wormholes, I mean, it I don't know. And submission, it feels like it came from somewhere else, and it's been captured. That's how I would interpret this data, knowing what the target is now. That's how I would interpret it. I have more data. There's another page of data. Let's get to that. Oh, it's okay. Okay, let's go to the last page. Okay, so the next thing I wrote down was winning season. I wrote winning season. Hotline. ET phone home. I didn't write that down, but yeah, hotline. So hotline, and I drew a pyramid. What looks like a pyramid. Yeah. Right there. If you can see that. Oops. I can't get that angle.
Page to me. I didn't see this page.
You didn't see this page? Okay. It must not have come through. Okay, so sorry about that. But I wrote winning season hotline, vast void open underneath the pyramid. And then I wrote down listeners, watchers, observers. Listeners, watchers, observers. Something was intense. I wrote biology, brains, biology, and then brains. And then I wrote down solitude and solid. Solitude, solid. And then something that was solid, I wrote magical practices and without effort. Magical practices without effort. So, you know, and that's all the data right there. Could something have been conjured? Okay. The portal, like, you know how CERN opens portals and stuff, they say, and things are coming in and out. I mean, I just was listening to some video where they're claiming that CERN actually contacted 3i Atlas. They opened up a wormhole, and they're the ones that contacted 3i Atlas, and that's how, like, they contacted the Draco reptilians and all that stuff. How do we know they haven't been doing this for decades or centuries even? Just saying.
You know, we might as well just go ahead and drift right on into that. I guess we're going there anyway. You know, but as far as that last there again, was not consistent of a statue.
It's not. None of this is.
And it seems to me like almost a plot to capture another species is what you're describing through conjured portals or constructed. Whether we want to say a cyclotron is a way of conjuring, but it is technically. Or I'm sorry, we don't call them that anymore. Hadron Collider, sorry. Anyway, but you know, something about 3i Atlas, all right. I tend not to go much with the jive. That's what a lot of what we hear on social media is jive. So I try to look into the reports of like what real astronomers are saying and astrophysicists. And they've been talking about actually how that thing, there's a couple of things that are really interesting about it. One is that, you know, everybody saying, "Oh, it's dispatched probes," like it's actually a Bracewell probe from science fiction. But really, what it has is what are possibly, they're saying, even pieces that it's carrying with it now, to where it almost makes it appear like it could be a convoy of comets in that way. And they're not dismissing that it couldn't possibly be intelligently controlled to a degree, but that's not certain. All right. And you know, now it's gone behind the sun, so they can't see it until December. And when it emerged December from these invisibility behind the sun, I'm very interesting to see if it's still carrying this debris with it. And something else I heard them mentioning also is that it's not leaving, quote unquote, a vapor trail, and it seems to not be having any water, any type of vaporization around it. Okay. And it's carrying these things with it, and it's actually breaking the laws as we know of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really kind of interesting. So however the thing is, and the possibility that it's actually hollow, those are things that are coming up that puts it in, you know, serious scientific scrutiny, let's say. But nonetheless, I found that very, very interesting, those facts alone, you know, that, and when I hear that how it's carrying this debris or these fragments with it, do you know what it reminds me of, since we're looking for puzzles and pieces?
What's that? Yeah.
The video that you and I went over a couple of weeks ago that was released by the government, by the Congress, and it shows that missile hitting that thing and then carrying the debris with it.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, you're seeing a similar technology there, some type of a tractor beam shield that's carrying the debris with it. You know what I mean? Whatever, it's not blowing apart. So is that another type of a craft we're seeing there? That's supporting data for that technically. So, you know, these are just things I'm throwing out. And I know I've been kind of clowning about the 3-1-3-eye atlas, but I'm tired of hearing about it. Sorry, it's a burnout. But, you know, like Oumuamua got to be a burnout at one point. But, you know, I want to see what it looks like when it comes from around the sun, though, to still have those pieces with it. You know, it'll be very interesting to know then. Then that's when we can start saying, well, where were those other pieces? Did they vaporize? Were they dispersed as probes would be? Would a place where we can't see it, which would be any intelligent civilization would do, you know? Hey, look at you would want the barbarian seeing nothing.
Oh man. Well, you know, so I started connecting a bunch of dots today. Just this morning. I was like, oh my God, all this is coming together. You know, I just had my good buddy, Dr. Ram, on the show Monday, and he was talking about the grid down situation. Okay, the grid down situation. I mean, we talked about a bunch of stuff, but he was even talking about taking like DMT and like I mean, this is like NASA secrets and stuff apparently, and this is for entertainment purposes only, audience. Okay, but talking about how and maybe this is inner space, not outer space, but I don't know. We're talking about like space travel through taking DMT and opening up many wormholes and stuff, Barry. So I don't know. It's pretty wild. Okay. But he was talking about a grid down scenario. And that's where all the power goes out. And then, so we got this. Let's take that, tuck it away for a second. Okay. Then I see Brad Olson, our good buddy, Brad Olson. Love him to death, y'all. And he's been on the show before. We talked about Antarctica. If you remember Brad, he was on, was it Nino Rodriguez? I think is his name. He was on Nino's show this past week. And he was talking about how, okay, he was kind of talking about the grid down as well, okay, because they were talking about, has the Project Bluebeam is it about to start? It's probably already started, right? But this is what they were talking about on the show. They said when the electricity goes out, let's talk about grid down. Okay, so we talked about grid down on Monday. Let's say the grid does go down, okay, and it's worldwide. Well, what Brad was saying, okay, so this is a quote from what Brad said. All electricity is out and the fake space show featuring sounds and extremely realistic characters in the sky begins while we have no power. They create a worldwide celestial show imitating the second coming of the holographic Christ and other religious figures, depending upon the region and the country, divided into zones, depending upon the religion and the beliefs of that area. And I mean, so that kind of makes sense too, right? It kind of makes sense that's when they would do all this, to bring in a one world government is what the consensus is, right? Part of that. Well, I'm not saying it started back when this magazine released this picture right here, but a lot of people were saying, well, this was when the public was like, they started putting out the disinformation campaign when it came to alien disclosure and Area 51, Barry. What do you think? Do you think there's like a connection? Is this like a finale that's coming right now? Like it started then and now, or is this just something that will continue forever and ever? Or are we getting full disclosure one day?
We've talked about this in the past. I want to make sure we come back to ground zero with this. Okay?
Yes, let's do it.
When is the first time anyone heard about the supposed blackout? Who started that?
Down.
Yeah, it's the whole grid down. Who started that? Who brought that?
Is it the kill shot?
Boom.
The kill shot.
Right
I knew it.
Here.
A remote viewer.
And don't forget the bow shot. We have the bow shot, then the kill shot.
Yeah.
So is it still there? And the kill shot was supposed to have happened a long time ago.
This is Ed Dames, right? Ed Dames, remote viewer.
The second remote viewer that I had heard of. The first was Ingo Swann. And I'm sorry, I forgot to put up that video. That video was called, it was an In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy, but it was called, the Sea Gulf Experiment or Seeing the Sea Gulf. But it was all about remote viewing. They're calling it that. And they've got Ingo Swann on there. He's on there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's very interesting. He's talking about how he remote viewed and some other things. And they brought up a few things up like Jupiter and maybe some other stuff. But anyway, point being, it was just interesting to see that what they were doing where they were remote viewing, quote unquote, these areas just outside the Catalina Islands where all that base stuff is supposed to be going on, all that USO activity now. And what's cool
all the giants are.
I'll post it on Facebook when we get off here this afternoon. But it's 1979, a good year to start looking at stuff, before. Anyway, point being, I'm hearing that again now. And, and I'm not all saying it's not a possibility. I mean, that sounds like a fabulous way for do global control and all that stuff. That probably won't happen. None of this stuff any of these people say ever happens. Just be honest, okay?
Yeah.
But technically, hopefully, definitely. But technically, that is a great time to try to institute something like that. But also, what I believe is, just like I believe this video is, and I've said this before. It's my opinion, not yours. But I believe it is an attempt to jump us to a negative timeline through intention alone. Get enough people intentions on this. Consciously thinking about this, maybe they can jump us to that timeline. Food for thought again. Well, entertainment purposes only, right?
That's right. Bingo. And here's but see, the first step in combating some kind of like super negative timeline is becoming aware of the intentions of there being a negative timeline like that. So just talking about it could prevent it from happening. I'm just saying.
Ooh.
And that's what we're doing right now.
Oh, something else concerning this. He said after the bow shot, which was going to be solar flares that caused us problems, but not like a major crisis. But after that was going to happen, there was going to be a shuttle that crashed. I think there was like one of those SpaceX things did go down. Excuse me. And then also there would be this virus that would emerge from Africa that was destroying wheat. And that's something you remote viewed, which is actually called UG99. And remember what your data said on that? And it's interesting because I never told you. Well, one is UG99 goes back to biblical references. And you picked up on stuff going further back than that. And underground laboratory type of stuff. But it would have been gone back way before biblical times. See, so when connecting these dots, like you said, it's just data for,
It's just data. But my gosh. It's kind of hard to argue with some of this data, though, because it's like, these are blind targets. How in the world am I coming up with all this, all this data is coming through that has everything that pertains to these targets. And then we're connecting all these dots over here. Man, I love this.
Well, Jessica, could it be because you don't know how to remote view yet? No, I'm just kidding.
You heard that?
I'm messing with
I know.
you.
I saw that too. I handled that pretty well, didn't I?
You know how to tease you a little
funny.
bit.
Golly.
When you start, sorry.
That's funny.
I'm laughing. I can't remember what I was saying. Anyway, connecting all the dots.
Connecting the dots.
It's really, really, really good, though. You know what I mean? And it leaves a lot less than just what is it? My dad always say the flimsy stuff. It's more solid. On top of what you've got a lot of people that can see, you can see, your audience can see. It's really interesting. You know what I mean? And some things that, and I hope that, like you said, it's stuff like doing and talking about this right now that can keep us on the proper timeline, the correct timeline, because I'm convinced still that none of them are fixed. And that's why all these experiences I had, none of these cats will tell me what's going to happen in the future. Why not? Because they might not know any more than you and me don't know. But I've been coming to deal with something else too, all right, is that I've been in the presence of non-humans, as I'm sure many of your audience has and other people, that are taking it to another level, that it's somehow consciously they're able to control time. And I don't just mean the way we do it. And without technology, something about and it's more than just even consciousness. I believe it's got something to do with their biofield and some way that their magnetic fields are constricted within the biofield, that they can influence time, like maybe stop time briefly, like those moments that seem to last for an eternity. They might have the ability to work with that, or so. It's very interesting. And I'm beginning to wonder if it's an ability that they evolved. Was it a defense ability, or was it evolved consciously? Did it evolve? They don't seem AI beings to me. Okay. Was that had something to do with it too? It's just, it takes us to the new horizon, I think, when dealing with contact and what it's like to be in a being, or around a being, all of a sudden they stop time on you and you're unaware of it. Oof. And they're projecting false environments to you also through optical nerves. We're at a serious disadvantage when it comes to that, but we're not as weak as we think. We're led to believe that. So anyway, I'll shut up now.
That's right. Well, it's kind of being proven through things like the mall. I'm not saying proven, like there's scientific proof here, but from a collective standpoint, things like we do have a collective consciousness. We do have a collective subconscious. I was about to bring up the mall world. Okay. Y'all remember that show we did with Jane and Gerald? That was fun. But I mean, they said, when they say like prayer works, the power of prayer, the power of us all putting our minds together and focusing the intention on changing something for the better, raising the vibration. We can do that, and it does work, and we can change these timelines. And we have to be aware of what, kind of like what the options are really, but like just focusing on like the highest timeline at all times, and like not putting our intention or our focus into the negative and into this, like even with Dr. Ram here, I love him to death, but to be aware, like it's a perfect example of having him on the show. And we're talking about like, he's like, no, we're going to have this, we're not going to be here forever. That's true. We're all going to die. Okay. I say that all the time, but we got to make an impact while we're here, to go have fun and enjoy this life, but also do good in the world. And, what can we do to do our part to help humanity? Right. Just have positive intentions every day, be a good person, be the light around you. We're all like tuning forks. Okay. And so like have your vibration high, think of the highest timeline for you, because that's going to lift up everybody around you. And that's how we change this kind of stuff. Okay. That's how we change the whole trajectory of where humanity is going right now.
That's really important. It's very serious too. I'll bring up the works of two people. I think that as far as philosophy wise, really nailed it really good. That's Terence McKenna, but especially Rupert Sheldrake. Rupert Sheldrake talked about the morphogenetic field, or I've heard in some science called morphogenic field, either or, same thing. And what that is actually the collective consciousness and intention of everybody on the planet, the whole thing. What is the morphogenic field of humanity on Earth? It's a tripped one. You know what I mean? But if more of us aware like this, the good intentions, it starts changing the morphogenic field to something positive. Because right now, if you look at the morphogenic field that the Earth is experiencing, which is going to be a bunch of fracking, hydrogen bombs, a whole bunch of destruction, it started actually, screaming out to us, and we got more. It starts yelling to the parent star, and the parent star starts acting erratic, about to basically irradiate its daughter and irradiate the cancer on its daughter, which is humanity to a level. So that's our custodianship of this planet, what little bit we do have. And believe me, there are others want to come in here and take over. You know that, and I know that. From other dimensions, from outer space, you name it. The whole gamut want to come up in here and take over. Especially try to get the feeling you can get in this atmosphere when you incarnate here. The sex, the food. You know,
So
it's not
good.
like that. When you're disembodied, you're not experiencing it the same. I don't care what nobody says. It's different. Ask a disembodied spirit. They're still one. They're still missing the sex, missing the food, often missing the drugs, whatever it might be, so they don't even cross over. It's serious.
I know they're hopping bodies, right? Hopping bodies, like Fallen.
Yeah.
We talked about that on Monday. I've got to reference that movie so much.
What did you gotta get to sit this movie to me? I don't think I've seen it. What is it? Is it with Denzel? You said
Fallen with Denzel. Yeah, it's one of the best movies. It's a good movie. And every time he can tell who the spirit is in, who this entity is in, because it sings time is on my side. And it's a song about time, which is weird too, right? Golly, I know it's all connected, y'all. Okay. But yeah,
a lot of stuff connected.
Everything's connected. Yes. Okay. Let me see. Okay. What else do we need to talk about today? There's a couple of other things that I also want to talk about other than the 3-Eye Atlas too. By the way, okay, so when I first had remote viewed the 3-Eye Atlas, Jane and Gerald from Midwest Night Watchers came on the show. And does everybody in the audience remember what I combined the 3-Eye Atlas show with? Another remote viewing target. Does anybody remember? Put it in the chat if you remember. Okay, I'll give you 3 seconds. I'm going to tell you. Griffins. Okay, remember griffins? Okay, you guys remember griffins. Well, I don't know if you guys follow any of these channels or anything on social media like I do. I'm on TikTok and stuff now. I'm always checking things out. Well, Squash Watch, who I refer to, he's always posting pretty cool stuff, right? Well, check out what they've posted out of Brazil. And I had combined the griffin with 3-Eye Atlas for this remote viewing show. And now we have an alleged griffin. Now, this could be CGI. It could be AI. I don't know. But this is like going all over the internet where they say, and I've seen the video, it looks real, but it could be AI. I don't know. But they're saying that there was a griffin filmed in Brazil's Serra do Divisor National Park. I don't know how to pronounce that, but there's supposedly a griffin filmed, a real life griffin. I don't know. What are the odds of there being an actual griffin, Barry? What are your thoughts on that?
With today's CGI or AI,
yeah,
pretty unlikely, to be quite honest with you. But I mean, I like to see more. I like to see the video. I like to see it all. You know what I mean?
I'll put it on my social media.
Yeah, I can't make that determination until I've actually seen it. But we do know one thing. I mean, with the whole subject of chimeras, and really that we know these labs and things are really going on, not just the ones that humans are doing in the private sector, but something very evil is going on the ground when it comes to that. Okay, and also the fact that we've got these almost ley lines. I believe that your guest the other day was talking about ley lines in a rather exaggerated fashion. But you know, you've got things that are actually bleeding through when you get something, especially in one of these points where you have a hydrogen bomb that was detonated near one of those major points. It's going to create these fractures, you know, almost fissures, I guess you could call them. But through that, you got things that creep through, not just Foo Fighters, but other things, you know,
creatures
things that we probably can't get back. Yeah.
From other dimensions.
I've often wondered, though, I'm, you know, just as far as text go, only books. One book that I did find interesting is the Revelations, okay, in the Bible. I just found it interesting. And when looking at that, when they talk about the creature that comes out of the ocean, is that, you know, it sounds more like, I just think maybe it's like some sort of submarine or something, you know, but it could also be one of these creatures that has come through these ley lines and they're trying to control. And they've got ways to control them, whether it's through a negative emotion or, you know, the same thing that the little ones do. We know that the little ones, whether, you know, Castaneda called the bigger ones the flyers. But I've seen them too. But those, you know, those ones that they're doing the same thing, they're feeding on. Okay, just go ahead and say the word. The bad Jolly Rancher.
Yes, the loosh.
The Prada, yes, and the DOR, deadly
That's right.
orbital radiation. They're loose, yes, ruining
Yeah,
Jolly Ranchers. That's what that does.
it is. Well, I actually have.
Get a bus with us. Was loose, man? It's the Jolly Rancher. I couldn't even eat it. I kept thinking
Oh my
about
gosh.
you.
So it's funny that you brought up the whole loose thing too, because talking about the 3i Atlas. Okay, so I came across this video. Somebody sent it to me. A friend of mine sent me this video. It's off of Instagram. I don't know who to give credit to for this because I don't know who it was. I just kind of took some notes as I was listening to it because it was something I never heard before, but it kind of made sense. And before I go here, okay, yes, I'll get to this in a minute. Thank you for the super sticker. I see that. I'm going to thank you in just a second. Okay, I just saw that kind of late, but okay. So I heard this on Instagram. It's an invisible AI system. This is what this person was saying. And there's other people that agree with this. Okay, and I've not heard this before. That the 3i Atlas is actually, it actually stands for the Advanced Tracking Logarithmic Ascension System. And it's created by ancient fallen ET collectives. It's an interdimensional soul harvesting system. Use a scalar tech to soul harvest, ascension hijack, loose energy off of people's traumas and emotions. It works like a phantom GPS for your soul to keep you stuck in the loop. Breaking soul patterns can be extremely hard, and your energy constantly is recycled. You can unplug by increasing your frequency, by grid work, by breath work, they said. So breath work too. I'm not laughing at that because it's funny. I'm just saying, like, you can fix it. Okay. You can by exiting the false light matrix and plug directly back into source. Okay. God, the universe. All right. So
They threw that in at the end. That was gracious. That was gracious.
I know, right? Right. I just took some notes, man. Look, don't shoot the messenger. I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting angle for it. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of the stuff is pure AI, right? Like that the Q by the sun and the Black Knight satellite. Like, and there's a lot of just AI stuff, right? So why wouldn't 3i Atlas be just AI? I don't know.
I heard something similar. Actually, I was sitting with an individual, and they were saying they were talking about how actually, when you deal with the forms of AI we don't know anything about, what it's doing is using our consciousness to manifest.
Yeah,
and that's really what it's doing. And now this stuff doesn't even exist, and it's coming into existence because of our consciousness. And they're just they're just they're harvesting that. I agree. I agree to a degree.
could be.
But I'll tell you what, when I do a past life regression or earthbound spirits or any of them tell me, hey, I got trapped here on Earth because this damn meteor was coming, and I was looking at it, zap, and all of a sudden I couldn't cross over. I'll let everybody know.
Oh yeah. Contact via Ouija board.
There's something I've been thinking about a lot, and since I got to give one movie reference before we get out of here, it's an older reference. It's an older movie, again back in the 80s, probably 81, 82. That's the second time I'd seen Patrick Stewart, aka Mr. X, Xavier, Captain Picard. It was first time was in Excalibur. The next, this movie called, excuse me, it was called Life Force. And Life Force was about this kind of meteor spaceship that comes to Earth, but the beings on board it are like these space vampires, and they suck direct life force from people. Directly.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a fascinating movie because around that time, I'm a Buck Rogers fan. I was back in the day, both the original and Gil Gerard. I met him a few years ago. I was just thrilled. Him, the little robot, biggie before he died, but that was exciting. I just stood there and talked to these cats for a while. Anyway, point being, there was an episode with him, one of my favorite episodes. It's about something called a Vorvon, which looks similar to like a type of a big-headed gray of some type, but it was a space vampire. And that has come up a few times. There's an episode of Doctor Who, too, dealing with these space vampire type of thing. I think it's just interesting when we start combining that with like what and what Matt Delf says about vampires and things like this.
And
Like,
Loosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Matt Delf and his bottle of vampire juice.
Hey, you know, seriously, they were looshing the hell out of people in that movie Life Force. They were tearing up some loose.
Oh, they were?
Yeah. I mean, it was quite a good movie in terms of, it was a little odd. You know, some of those English movies are they're a little different sci-fi wise, but the concept of it was really happening. And people were tripping out because a woman was walking around naked, taking everybody's life force, and she didn't have clothes. I think that's what people were tripping on the most.
Oh man, well, whatever way gets the message across, I guess. The best. But, you know something that actually I just saw. I was flipping through the comments and I'm looking. Somebody wrote something about a tulpa. I swear I saw it. I can't find it now. Somebody wrote something about a tulpa, and I was thinking, you know, something that Dr. Ram said on Monday was, and I thought this was interesting. He was talking about how, was it interdimensional beings or ETs or actual like entities that come in looking for tulpas or creating tulpas to put their bodies, like ETs are basically tulpas that entities are putting their consciousness into. Okay, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting, and I've talked about tulpas a couple times on the show, and
well, you know, you've got the issue beings. What clone bodies they're using that they can transpose themselves into.
Clone
and when
bodies.
you really start dealing with these beings, we can call them ET, but they can be multidimensional, and they're thought forms, and they exist really as thought forms. And the container for their consciousness is much more malleable than what we're aware of. Okay, then they can use those clone bodies, or you know, there's these things now. Like, how many? I'm curious. Have you come across any walk-ins lately? Have you ever met a real walk-in?
Yes, I have actually. And my friend Tom Springer, he's been on the show. We talked about the Cheyenne dog soldiers. He is still, I believe, a sniper in the U.S. Army. I believe one of the branches of the military. He's a longtime career military guy who was a sniper, and he has gone through a lot, and he is convinced. He said he knows for a fact he is a walk-in soul for sure in his body right now. Mm-hmm.
You know, I met one when I was younger. Friend of mine, Timar was her name, and she was like an 80-year-old woman back then. She's long since passed, bless her heart. But you'd be talking to this older woman, and all of a sudden she might do something like this, and all of a sudden she started talking like a little girl. And you know, and I mean, and the little girl was supposed to be the walk-in from somewhere. The space force of light is what the walk-in said. Somewhere around Arcturus, somewhere out there. Anyway, point being that this woman had so many different collages of different beings, it was unreal. Okay, I never seen anything quite like that. And secondly would be this walk-in, because look, when she would start doing that, I'm like, okay, I was about to get my psychology degree. I'm like, man, this is some civil. This is some MPD. Yeah. But then this little walk-in starts telling me things about my experiences I never shared with anyone. Detailed things.
Oh, really?
And that tripped me out. Yeah. Things like you said you would never do that. You ran when they came for you one day. You ran. You said you'd never do that. I did. I don't care what nobody says, man. Hey, look, I was out practicing the gate of power. Then this ship materialized out there. I was already missing a bunch of time for these other experiences. No more. I didn't need it that day. Okay, not that night. So I took off. Forget the gate of power. I ran like Carl Lewis back through that field, got to my car, and took off. And no one ever knew. I never told anyone about that. And this walk-in knew about it. I mean, it got much deeper than that, but that was just one thing, for example, you know. So that was the first real walk-in I've met. And since doing this, the conference thing, I've met a couple others now that I believe are legitimate, you know. And I've also encountered some during the work now as well. That was sometimes, and that's not the same as earthbound spirit with somebody. It's a totally different thing. It's an association, an agreement. It's not a possession. You know what I mean? Earthbound spirit possession. Walk-in is more of an agreement. At least what I've experienced anyway. I don't have one.
Yes. So. It's an agreement. Well, yeah, they just like in Tom's case, you know, he was very depressed and he didn't want to move forward. And it was like he couldn't complete his mission here on earth as with his soul, that soul. So another soul took over. He said, It was very dark. Having his job and having to deal with the things he was dealing with, it was too much, he said. And so it is a thing. It is a thing. Well, listen, before we go today, we only have a few more minutes because I gotta head out here in just a few minutes. But I did want to discuss some of the things that my mother had sent me, like a link. Okay. She's always sending me links and stuff, and it all pertains to like the topics of my shows and stuff that she's been following. And she sent me this one video, and I watched like half of it. I didn't watch all of it. I didn't have time. But a guy named Stefan Burns on YouTube, I think. So I'm going to give him credit for this. But he was showing, if you go to his YouTube channel, I don't know it, I don't have it here. But he was talking about a gigantic CME. Okay. And that is a coronal mass ejection just blasted straight to towards 3i Atlas, he said. And he was wondering if the activations had begun. He said that the closest approach with the sun would coincide with big solar activity. And right now there's a lot of solar activity going on. And apparently for us, that means like earthquakes. Like I know that my brother-in-law's family they're from Ecuador. Okay. And they just had a big old earthquake last night. He was on the phone with his brother, and an earthquake happened while he was on the phone with his brother. Okay. Last night. And so there's a whole lot of energy coming from all this light radiation. Solar flares are hitting the earth right now. And there's about to be a whole lot of potential natural disasters and stuff right now. And it has to do with that 3i Atlas. I don't know if it's the 3i Atlas. I think it's 3i Atlas, maybe. And this is my opinion. Maybe they're just using all the solar flares to power up. Like they do this on purpose. They know when these flares are about to blast out or something. I don't know. But some people are like blaming 3i Atlas for all this stuff going on. So I don't know. I do. While you're talking, I'm gonna pull this up. Go ahead.
Something to be worth everybody doing. Everybody go to the SOHO website and observe the time frames and all the different nanospectrums during the time there was a solar mass ejection. Let's see if there was something like one of these cubes that you remote viewed, or one of those spheres that might have been trying to interfere with directed mass CMEs or solar prominences, or whatever the case might be. That's why I given you one of those. One of those was directly that cube that was seen blocking that, or was it the spear? I can't remember. It was a remote viewing blind target I gave you, and one of them came out. I was tripped out when you started describing the AI part of it, or it was even more than that. That thing was massive. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Wow, you're looking spacing out over there. What are you doing? But no, yeah.
No, my computer's screwing up, so that's why. That's why I'm spacing out.
Yeah. This, like I said, I'll be interested to see when it comes around the sun. And what point was it that this thing was ejected towards 301 Atlas that they saw it before it disappeared? That should be very much able to be seen on the SOHO website, and see what other unusual activity was around the sun in all the different nanospectrums. The blue, the green, the yellow, they're all on that SOHO. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Those are good points. Okay. And so this is actually when Cryptidville, I don't know if Cryptidville's in the chat today, but Cryptidville sent me, Mark Maycheck sent me an article on Facebook. I didn't get to read all of it, but I found some other articles when I was about to start the show today. And this, they're talking about, he actually mentioned that NASA has activated a planetary defense network. And this is one of those websites right here. This is from ibtimes.com. NASA's training exercise over 3i Atlas sparks fear of hidden interstellar threat. The IAWN launches a global campaign to accurately track comet 3i Atlas, calling on astronomers to improve planetary defense. And there's a lot of ads here. Okay, so they're calling it a global training exercise, a call to action for all the world's astronomers, and a global training exercise to get better at tracking fuzzy, unpredictable comet. I don't know. They want to all track this 3i Atlas. And the sudden urgent focus on the interstellar object 3i Atlas, coupled with a strict mandatory training protocol, has sparked fears that NASA and its partners are not preparing for a hypothetical threat, but for a real undisclosed one. The suspicion is not happening in a vacuum. It follows a series of bizarre reports about the object, including claims from a purported ESA whistleblower of an engine-like sound and a warning from top Harvard astrophysicist that the object would change everything. Now this training exercise is being viewed by many as the final piece of a disturbing puzzle, a coordinated effort to control the narrative before a shocking truth is revealed to the world. Okay, so that's basically it in a nutshell right there. And I think that says a lot. I mean, it's kind of escalating, Barry. I think this is escalating. What are your thoughts on it?
That they're trying to actually put this in a new classification of interstellar objects as far as how they might move and how they might break our laws of thermodynamics and how it might be standard, as opposed to it just being under intelligent control, which it could be. But I mean, I find it interesting, but they're saying that basically this is examining changing our science towards that. So I think that's, more interesting than anything. And I want to see, but right now, I mean, the stuff that I've heard about this thing that is outside of real astronomers and astrophysics talking about it, I can't shake a stick at all the theories, all the conspiracy.
Right?
Oh my Lord. I mean, it makes your head swim. You know what I mean? Seriously. So I kind of stick with the science, what they know about it, and that they're actually identifying that it is a comet of some type. But more to the point, if that is an interstellar probe of some type or from another civilization, how much can we find out that really will identify it? And what's cool when it comes from around the other side of the sun and we can see it again, look at all the amateur astronomers are going to be looking at that thing. If it really is doing a bunch of stuff that is no doubt it's a artificial intelligence of some type or under intelligence, the whole bunch of people, they're not going to be able to hide it. You've got too many independent astronomers that want to get famous on this. Kind of like the speleology people, not just spelunkers, but the speleology people. They say, man, under Mount Shasta, don't you think if we found anything, we'd be telling the world? This is a lifetime. It's an achievement of a lifetime. They're looking for the city. Believe me. Yeah, they say nothing other than, so that's people say, well, it's because it's dimensional. Of course. I'm just saying, sometimes we have to go with the facts of what we get and what is what is, but anyway, it'll be interesting to see what unfolds with this, because if it is something, a whole bunch of people are going to see it and they're not going to be able to hide it. Not this time. You know what I mean? So yeah, that'll be exciting to watch, and also the other parallel where it goes, perigee, when it goes behind Mars and disappears. And when it comes out from there, we see it again. What's it going to look like then? Is it still going to have this debris with it or no? Was that debris under intelligent control? See, I can't prove that yet, but it's still open. It could be. They're not ruling it out. Nobody I've heard has ruled it out. Now, what's his name? I never say his name right.
Avi Loeb?
Not him. I never say his name right. Kaku. The Asian American astro. Michio Kaku, I think is his name, but I never say it right. I don't want to get butchered from messing up his name like I did David, Ike, Icky, Wiki, Wacky, whatever.
Oh yeah. I saw an interview that the guy did. He's got long hair and like grayish white hair, and I know you're talking about. He was. I watched a little clip from him too, talking about.
Yeah, he's been talking about it a lot. So has Neil Tyson, who I'm not a big fan of. I mean, he's a beautiful, wonderful scientist, excellent, but he's lacking so much spirituality. It's scary. Talking about somebody programmed up. I mean, that brother's about as. Yeah. I got this sonic screwdriver is more spiritual than Neil Tyson DeGrassi. Good Lord.
For entertainment purposes only. Yeah.
It's true. He's the brother. He'll tell you. He don't believe in no creator, no none of that. Nothing outside of science and the spaces and the force in space. Our consciousness doesn't matter. When we die, we're wiped out. It's over. No more.
Yeah.
Science doesn't care. The universe doesn't care about us. He goes on and on. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting perspective. It is.
I think it sucks, but whatever.
Well, okay. Well, let me think. Mezer Liptic Jay, thank you so much for the super sticker. Says we need not worry about them. I guess aliens. I don't know. They are timeless and ageless and have been here since the very beginning. The proof is in cave paintings and even the ancient religious paintings. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, we might be the aliens. I'm just saying.
I've
And
done
so
several videos over
thank
cave
you.
paintings, and if you really look at, especially the one in France, you see how many times they have Makos on those paintings. Okay, and then also how you'll see some of them are like, for example, the ones in what do you say that word, Lacroix caves. You have the ones
Uh-huh.
that look like the actually antelope or something coming through the Mako, and their port of origin appears to be the hand. Look up the Hand of God Nebula. I think that's
Oh
what that
yeah, the
means.
hands on there.
So what you're seeing is star maps. A lot of those ancient cave paintings, and
Yeah.
sometimes what they display as being the Wandjina out of Australia. Look
Yeah.
at those illustrations and then compare the illustrations of colliding black holes. They look just alike. You're seeing star maps there, not just gray aliens. See what I'm saying? Anyway,
Yes,
neither here
there's
nor there.
actually a hand on Judaculla Rock too up in North Carolina. I can't remember if it's a six-fingered hand or a five-fingered hand, but it's on as a petroglyph on Judaculla Rock, where Sukalu was said to have lived up there, a giant. Okay,
It
or
might be
Bigfoot.
six fingers. Really?
It was either five or six. I have to look. I'll have to look.
We,
It was
we,
a big.
you know
It's a
what's
big
interesting
hand.
about that? You know what's
Hmm.
interesting about that? I'm surprised you didn't mention. Maybe you mentioned this to me before. When
Uh-huh.
dealing with that, that's six digits is polydactyl. And you know who had polydactyl?
The
They're
giants.
also entertainment only. They're also holding their penis. But Urfa Man,
Oh, Urfa man.
Urfa
That's
Man
right.
had six
Oh, I
fingers. He had
remember viewed that.
polydactyl. Yeah, exactly. He had
I remember
polydactyl
that.
though.
Wow,
Uh huh.
interesting.
Isn't it?
Well, that's very interesting. It is. Okay, Magical Journey Podcast. Thank you for becoming a member of the Hunt Club. I just put a brand new video out last night. If you guys are a member of the Hunt Club, it's my membership over on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for your support with that. Hey, Renee, thank you for being here. And also I got one more thank you right here. Thank you to Gary. Gary Spikes. That's so sweet of you. Thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for being awesome and for being here and being my moderator as well. And I want to get you back on the show soon. Somebody in the chat was like, "We need Gary Spikes back on the show." So we'll get Gary back on here, y'all. Okay. Thank you so much, Gary, for that. All right. Well, do we have any final thoughts, Barry? Okay, on let's talk about the little alien. Just some final thoughts and how is this all connected? Maybe like in summary. What do you think?
I think that's subtle disclosure right there that we were seeing, and it got kind of put in with everything else, and we're lucky it even got discovered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we see that happening more and more, but I think that's really what that is. Kind of like that place that used to be called the $1 Million Museum that had those alien bodies in it, that body in it.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was one of those victims from one of those wrecks or something. But also what you're seeing here, the sadness that you're picking up on here from your data, it almost sounds like that being was lured here and then
Mm-hmm.
trapped and then went into submission. And eventually, I think you picked up the wax because that's part of the intention to try to cover it up. We've got individuals trying to throw off your remote viewers now. We know that.
Yeah.
That's because it's way of the universe or way of the galaxy, the way communication goes. So,
Yeah.
food for thought, entertainment.
Entertainment only. I just absolutely think this is an amazing target that you gave me. Thank you so much for giving me these wonderful targets, Barry.
Well, hey,
And
thanks for
and
doing it. And thanks for doing on this show that wasn't the normal one. So thank you.
yeah, well, it's not my normal remote viewing show, but I'm a remote viewer. We can talk about whatever we want on any of my shows. I don't care. It's my show. I do what I want. So, but I think it's important because we need to make these connections, okay, between this and the disclosure back then in the 1980s. It was 1988. And 88 to 89. Okay. And I think that magazine came out November 21st, actually, in 1988, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that was like disclosure right there in our faces. Okay. And now it's kind of like led up to today, what we have happening now. We got this gigantic, big old spaceship, about to pass Earth. The closest it'll be to the Earth and the sun, I guess, is like December the 17th. That's only in like two weeks, 3 weeks, something like that, 2.5 weeks, I think. So buckle up, buttercups. I mean, it could be, and I did mention like the CMEs and things like that and the solar flares that are going off. I mean, it could mean there's going to be an uptick in, we watch out for these fault lines. Okay, like just be prepared, y'all. We're talking about the grid down. I mean, it's a perfect recipe for disaster. I'm just saying. And if you don't think that the bad forces, the dark forces, aren't going to utilize everything they can in their tool belt, they will. So just be prepared. Get some water, get your toilet paper, get some canned foods, storable foods, just in case. And we're going to make it through this.
Your protections, because the personal attacks are going up, and psychic attacks
are
going up.
Yes.
They always go up with CMEs, with solar activity, solar radiation. So protect yourself.
Protect yourself before you riggedy wreck yourself.
Better at night during this time. Works much better at night when the solar radiation is low. Yeah, lower.
Yeah. Yes. Oh man. So anyways, I know you guys are all, doing your energetic protections and the power of prayer too. And I'm sending all my love and light to everybody out there today. I want to thank y'all so much for being here. And I know together we are a collective consciousness here as well. And so let's strive for the highest timeline. Okay. And it's all about the awareness. So y'all keep your head on a swivel though. Do not get caught slipping. Okay. Protect your necks. There's vampires out there and energetic ones too. So just be careful. Barry, thank you so much for being here today. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me, BarryLittleton13@gmail.com. My services are all there. Contact me there on YouTube. Do a lot of stuff on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, all under Barry Littleton. I don't have any cool handles or nothing, but anyway.
Well, yeah, it's easier to find you though. Okay.
I've Barry Littleton. Work with a lot of your audience now, and it's been really encouraging because some of those sessions are really cool. So thank you for that very much.
Amazing. You guys book your session with Barry Littleton13@gmail.com. It's on the ticker right down here. Okay. So, and please go to subscribe to his Patreon and his YouTube. And y'all come back and see me tomorrow night. I do have Greg Ogles coming on the show. We're going to be talking about The Vanished. Okay. He's got a new documentary coming out. I am in his documentary and I covered the Dennis Martin case on his documentary. He's super excited about it. I'm super excited about it. And we're going to talk about it tomorrow night, along with some targets of missing people out of the Great Smoky Mountains. So y'all don't want to miss it. We'll probably talk about some Smoky Mountain cryptids as well tomorrow night. So y'all come back and see me then with Greg Ogles of Relics Films. Okay. And so Barry, thanks again for being here. You're awesome. You're the best.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate you. Thank you to the audience too. I thought it was a good show. A lot of good information, a lot of good connections, I thought. So thank you. It was fun.
It was awesome. I want to thank everybody for the super stickers today and for all your love and all your support. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Y'all have a great day. Stay safe out there. All right. Bye, y'all. Bye, Barry.